here with Kean head coach Neil Ivero, Christian Parejas, Dominic Bassino, and Dan Riceley after the split of today's second and third game at the Union Super Regional. Coach, opening statement.
Well, before I get into the game, the opening statement today is we're very grateful for a lot of things. We had a tremendous hosted Super Regional. I know everyone in the stands, from their fans, their players and coaches, they had an excellent experience. And again, we're going to thank our administration for doing that. To be able to look up there and see our president, our athletic director, all our administrators, friends and family, it's crazy to know that we have that kind of support. We have a president literally who's one of the top athletic presidents in the country, any level of sport. Like, he's a sports nut, and it's great. And he's just really into this. We're really happy that we got to provide this for our school, for our administration, for our players, their families. Like, we just wanted to provide something like this because it brings a lot of people together. If you know me, you know I'm a very religious person, and I look for signs. I believe if you have a good relationship with God, you'll have signs that'll come down. So in the regionals, I was telling Kelly, our athletic director, I was walking through the locker room and I spotted randomly 3 pennies on the ground. And all we needed was 3 wins to get it. So I literally had a different penny in my pocket every game. And I'm like, wow, 3 pennies just sitting here, 3 wins, that's a good sign. And then my mother was a huge fan of our baseball team. And I'm a nut when I at home feeding the birds and stuff like that. There's our players looking in. And so I feed the birds like crazy, and I'm leaving very early in the morning the other day, and I'm like, damn, I didn't feed the birds, and I go in my yard at like whatever time it was, 6:30, 7 o'clock, and there's a red robin sitting right waiting for me. I'm like, Mama, you got me today. And then when I think about people like Jack Nagy and Coach Hill, my mentor, who we still have lockers in our locker room for those guys, them looking down on us, and my mother, watching this game today, we really wanted to provide them a good day's experience and as if they were with us, because we know their presence was here. My lovely wife, it's her birthday tomorrow. I'd like to wish her a happy birthday. And my beautiful kids. It's just great to share this with everyone. So getting into the game, and I'm sorry, I'd like to thank my coaching staff. I think, we work really well together. I mean, we brought on Jay, and him and Sal work tremendously with the hitters. I mean, me and Steve do the pitching. Lou does the outfield. Gary does the base running. Like, it's just a whole cohesive unit, and these kids are really prepared. They'll tell you, if you ask them how much information it takes to play here, how many signs we have, and like our coaches do their best to break it down. So I can't do this myself. They get a tremendous amount of credit for that. With that being said about the game, I was trying to tell Kelly outside, he wanted me to enjoy the moment. If you know me, my biggest fault is I'm going to stick with the starter as long as possible. That's what I did in college and Pro Bowl. I was a starter, and I know how that starter could settle down, and he's in the flow of the game and sweating, and there's a certain level of trust built up. So in game one, you have a 4-2 lead with Jay on the mound, who we think is the best pitcher in the country. The ship's going down with him, or we're going to sail it with him. I'm not going to make changes there, and I know that's a big criticism. I'm prepared to take it. And then, in a series like this, like I told our players on Thursday when we finished practice, we had a meeting. I was like, most people around the country aren't doing what we're doing. We've played 6 or 7 9-inning doubleheaders. This is a normal day for us. I know it was long for a lot of people. We've done this 7 times. And so we've won every one of them, except for today with this split. We've won every one that we've played. So let's not panic if we don't get the first one, or we get the first and not the second. The important thing is to get out of today and know that we can advance. And, we're used to navigating this with our pitchers. And when you're in the winner's bracket, the advantage you have is not going through arm after arm after arm just to stay alive. And so when we handed the ball to Christian, like, he knows I'm, a pitching person. I'm on him like crazy in the first inning because I know it's not the best. I'm the kind of coach, like, I can criticize our players, or so can our coaches. We're with them. We know their strengths and weaknesses. That wasn't his best in that first inning. That was nowhere near it. And most people would pull you out at that point. They wouldn't play games and take you out. And I'm like, come on, settle in. Let's go. Give us your good stuff. And this guy stays out there for 8 innings, and doesn't allow a run and throws up zeros. All right, you're dealing with a kid here who's a vacuum at shortstop, makes play after play after play. All right, Dan's here for his second time. Me and Coach Matera went out and seen him when nobody wanted to recruit him. We were up in at a showcase a couple of years ago, and just watching this kid be so athletic. We knew he played soccer. He had good footwork. Nobody thought he could hit, and we laugh all the time. I said, Dan, nobody thinks you're ever going to be a good hitter. And so you could see with a lot of hard work and dedication what it's come down to. These guys can really play defense. And our whole system is set up to how do we win these games when we're not hitting, when we can't, do certain things. How are we going to get enough runs? And I think we displayed that today. We were on time when it was time to do those certain bunts and move runners over and get the bunt up the line and steal a base at the right time, turn a double play. Like those things are crunching the game and keeping the pressure on them. So to have a 3-0 lead, give up 2, and ride that out, not give up another one the rest of the game, ridiculous. And thank you, Christian. That was all you, buddy, and our defense.
Neil, talk about the last month. And I'll go back to when the mound broke against Newark and you brought the doubleheader over here. And then the way the NJAC tournament played out with all the rain and coming back here. And then obviously, the way it ended against Cortland and then just this weekend as a whole. Just talk about everything. Talk about your guys' character and just talk about how they just settled in to deal with anything and just get through this to reach that point.
I mean, it's a way of thinking where you try to set the season up where you can accumulate enough wins and points so you don't have to win that conference tournament because we know how difficult it is, and trying to get enough points to win. And I tell them all the time, like, to win the national championship, you got to try to, to get 30 wins. You got to make your conference playoff. Sometimes you have to win that playoff. Then you got to go to the regionals and win that. Then you got to win the super regionals. Then you're going to have to go to the World Series and win your side of the bracket. Then you got to play the 2 out of 3. Think of how much winning you have to do to get to that point. So my experience from doing this so long is that conference tournament is really hard. It's harder almost than a 4-team region and a 2-team super regional. And I told them that yesterday. That tournament is insanely hard to win. You're playing the same teams you've played for the past 5 weeks. Everyone knows everyone's tendencies. The fans know each other. There's a lot of, crazy competition. So, when my experience is when you don't win that tournament and you do make a regional, you're practicing, we call it angry. Like you're getting after practices knowing like this is it. I told them next time we say goodbye, we're handing our clothes in and our equipment and it's done. The next time we have this feeling. So I think, right, if they'll admit to you, that feeling of losing that got them in a better frame of mind because a lot of times you'll win that and you'll spend the next 10, 11 days practicing and everything's happy and fun and you're not locking down on those little things. We've been covering a lot of little things the last 10 or 11 days and they'll tell you how we've been practicing and all these little details that are boring to them and they don't want to and then they see it come into play. Like there's a couple of plays we used today, we literally have not used them all year. They were there when we needed it. But they have to, I don't win these games, all right? These guys have to perform under the pressure and they got to stay loose and compete. So they get the credit, for what they did. I didn't catch a ground ball. I didn't throw anything today. All I did was call a game and put the lineup up. So thank you, man.
Christian, another, as Coach said, you came here for big games, another big game. You seemed to settle in after that first inning. Just talk about that.
Yeah, like you said, that first inning was terrible. It's one of the most important games that we've had all season, so I just had to find somewhere in me in order to battle it out and throw for our guys. And luckily, I pitched to contact, and like I've said in the past, I feel like I have the best infield in the country, so it was just great having those guys behind me and being able to battle it out and get the win.
Down 3 for 5 in the first game, 1 for 4 in the second game. Obviously, you did it at the plate and in the field. Just talk about everything today.
I'm trying to do my job. Just gotta make the plays, get on base, let the guys behind me drive me in. That's all it is.
Dan, obviously another day at the office for you. I think John would attest to some of your plays out there and how you make it easy. Just talk about the way it felt today.
I mean, coming in today, we knew we had to get the job done, and things just didn't go our way the first game. In the second game, we just wiped it and forgot about it and just played the way we know how to play and got every run we could.
One more for you, Dan, as well. You really did it on the hitting side going back yesterday, obviously the walk-off, but then today you were still able to hit. You got hit by a pitch a ton, 3 more in this one. So, but on the other side of things, you really had the glove going as well. You made a catch going out beyond first that you made look easy, almost a Willie Mays over the shoulder like that. What's it for you defensively that's worked so well this season?
I think it's just the amount of what we do in practice. We practice every situation that can happen, and the amount of times we practice pop-ups is unreal, and then it's paid off almost every time because our field, there's a lot of room over there, and you just got to know where you are, and over time it just happens.
Absolutely. As well, another great game defensively, but you really had the bat going throughout the season. You know, jump to jump, series to series, you keep growing as a hitter, whether it's attacking early in at-bats and figuring it out. What was it today? You're seeing a lot of the same guys as well that they kept pouring out at you, and you found a way to get hits.
I think it was just sticking to the approach, try to hit everything up the middle. You know, if I get a good pitch early, go for it. If I don't, let it go, get my next one. And that's pretty much it.
And Christian, one final question. Obviously, you found a way to settle in. What was the difference for you behind you late in the game? You know, it's getting hot out, it's getting late. How did you keep it going all the way into that 8th inning?
Definitely. I feel like as the game picked up, I feel like I started throwing my off speed more for a strike, so I feel like that was the main thing that led to success. And like I said, pitching to contact was important, so the changeup and the slider, a lot of ground balls to this guy and Solari, but they scooped him up easy, and that was just great.
Neil, obviously, you know, on to East Lake, Ohio, you know, a bunch of usual suspects in at the World Series. You know, the last time, obviously, Rowan's going to be there. Last time 2 teams were in from the NJAC was 1985. It was that team in red and William Patterson. Just talk about what it's going to be that next.
Well, I mean, you know, for me, I haven't been out to Cleveland. Obviously, we were in Wisconsin a bunch of years, but you know, Kim has been there, our sports information director, when she was working at another school and our school, so we'll have an idea of what we're dealing with, the practice schedules, and we just trying to keep the players clear-minded, where they're just having a good time, playing free and clear. And you know, we got to be ready. Let's face it here. You know, anyone that's going to be there is coming off a championship like this. It all starts from scratch again, and you know, it's hard to understand when we're starting in September in the fall and you know, methodically moving through practice and then getting into the spring and our workouts of how this system is supposed to play out for us. Like, we're trying to win a big game when the other pitcher is so good. Like, how are we going to get runs? We're not getting 5, 6, 7 runs. How do we get 1 or 2 and still let this hold up? And so I think, you know, the players are buying in little by little, even though we're obviously, you know, headed towards the end, where they see how this stuff comes into fruition, how many things we just used today that we haven't even used. So these tiny little things are going to be the difference. And, you know, every team will have an identity. Like, I don't think a lot of people understand, like, who we just played. We just played a team that was on a 20-game winning streak. They lose 1, win 1. And now basically it's been, 21 out of 23. They have a top pitching staff. Every arm they roll out there is able to get outs and give them length. And, you know, they ran a bunch of guys out there in 2 days, so it's not easy to hit. I mean, we didn't hit the ball that well. Our big hitters that need to do a little bit more damage, but that's what good pitching does. And I'm hoping that on our side we're doing the same thing. We have a good pitching staff too, and our pitchers are doing the same thing to their hitters. So it looks like, man, where's this offense? Well, that's what good pitching's supposed to do, and that's where your defense comes in those little things at the right time. So we're just going to enjoy the experience. We're going to be very humble about it, like we always are, and we're going to get out there and compete, and we'll be ready when that time comes.
Dan, I think we got a little bit of an audience behind us. Last word before we make the trip to Ohio.
I mean, those guys over there, they're the reason why we can do what we do. I mean, this team is just nothing I've never been a part of. I mean, it's just special.